Hey folks, David Stewart here. I'm here with Brian Niemeyer and Yakov Merkin, and we are having the Corona Pulp Spectacular stream. We're not going to just talk about the virus, but of course we'll talk about it. We just want to have some fun tonight, and I also do have an announcement. So before going any further, Brian does have a book on sale, so you'll see that linked in the chat, so you can give that a look. But we will also have an ebook. I wanted to have it released like yesterday, but I got kind of busy with all the shutdown. So we're having a Pulp Spectacular Corona Chan edition, giant free ebook that'll be coming out that I'll have a book in it from me, from Brian, from Mr. Merkin, and from a bunch of other people that is definitely going to be worth picking up. So keep your eyes out for that. If you're not following me on Twitter, it's twitter.com/DavidVStewart. I'll have links out, or make sure you're on my mailing list, dvspress.com/list, or any of our mailing lists. I'm sure we will be spamming it out. A little bit of a free entertainment because we know that people are going to be shut down a little bit. So how you guys doing tonight? How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing quite well. I'm nice and cozy inside the bunker here.
That's good. Yakov, how you doing?
I'm doing well also. Been very quiet outside, quiet inside. Have my mask ready.
Yeah.
Like Dr. Is it?
Yeah, well, I am in Central California, and we've had a very interesting event. So I'll go ahead and share this event because it's an interesting anecdote. So, some of the schools were shutting down. I made a video the other week on the stampede mentality, and this is just another great example of it. The schools are shutting down, and so our like county board of education put out this big long statement saying they weren't going to close the schools, and had this long justification for why they weren't going to close the schools, that the kids would end up spending more time with old people who would like die of the virus. All this kind of logical flow to it. And then a day and a half later, they announced that they were going to close the schools. All the schools started closing for the next 2 to 4 weeks. And it was such a fast turnaround. And I know exactly what's happening is that the parents just started pulling their kids. My wife is a speech pathologist and works in the schools. And a lot of the classes today had like 2 kids in them, 3 kids in them, And it's like, well, they had 3 more days of school because parents have to figure out where they're going to put their kids when everything is shut down. So it's been rather bizarre over here to see that. But once something gets to a certain point, it's like you can't really resist. It's going to happen. How about you over in Israel?
We're basically on soft lockdown now.
You're on soft lockdown.
Like the point where they're asking everybody to stay home. Only go out when you have to go out, and they're saying, please just comply so we don't have to make you stay home. But people being people, I imagine by next week we're going to be on like a hard lockdown, at least for a little while. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think we're on. Our county hasn't hit it yet, but they had this thing like shelter in place, which basically means don't leave your house except like to go to the store if you need to get food or medicine or something. A lot of the restaurants around here are still open for takeout only, and I kind of hope they do that because I don't want people to lose. I don't want them to lose too much money or anything like that. But for the most part, I think this county's it's probably going to have that in the next couple of days, for a couple of days at least, and that's just kind of how it is. What about in your neck of the woods, Brian? He might have disconnected for a minute. Oh, you know what?
Nope.
It's okay. We got John Della Rose here too.
Hey guys.
Pay attention to that. Hey, what's up, guys? How you doing? John lives a little bit to my west. How you doing over there?
Quarantined myself about a week ago, but prior to like the forced quarantines, and I panic bought and stocked up. So there we are.
Yeah.
This will keep me going for the next month. So
I live in Gallo country, so I'm feeling that wine's not going to be too big an issue to get whenever I want it.
Yeah, we're like an hour from Napa, right?
Yeah. So it's not like that big. I mean, there's wine vineyards, a couple hundred yards from my house. Yeah, I got there's a dairy, and then there's some. What do I have? Almonds, and there's some grapes. So it's pretty cool over here.
I might start growing my own. I'm into the survival gardening thing now. I'm reading have you read the David the Good survival gardening stuff?
I haven't read it. I haven't read it yet.
Yeah, we're doing that on audiobook right now and trying to get our little garden going so we can never interact with humans again.
Well, I've had a couple friends, or I've known some people that grow their own grapevines, and I used to have my own grapevines at my old house, and they're very easy to grow. You really don't have to do that much to them unless you're like really trying to make the crop really specific for like winemaking or something. There's not that much. You just you prune the vines, early spring before the new shoots start, and then the grapes just grow, and it's a matter of trying to keep the birds off.
Interesting.
We had grapevines, so we had this like balcony, and we had grapevines below it, and they grew up over the balcony. So we just had like bunches of grapes hanging down, like something out of Babylon, just like go out on the balcony and you could pull down bunches of grapes and eat them. We had the green Thompson seedless grapes.
Nice.
So those were pretty good. I might try to grow more here. Like I have a really good fence line for it. So I might try to do that because they're pretty fun to grow. They're easy. You can eat the grapes if you have to. It's good.
Maybe I'll do it too.
Yeah.
Not a bad idea.
All right, Yakov, can you?
Anything.
Is it possible to take your mask off now?
Yeah. I was feeling like it was time anyway.
It sounds like we're on the stream with Darth Vader.
Yeah, I thought there was like a prank caller on the line.
Yeah.
Just to the store.
The calls are coming from inside the gas mask. Get out.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have a gas mask. Now I want to point something out too, which is like a couple weeks ago, I put out a couple articles on like prepping for Corona Chan. I had a list of exactly the kind of stuff that I have for like the next month and that I think people should think about buying, not just for this, but for any disaster preparedness. And people were like, why would you not be able to get something at the store because of a virus? I'm like, oh, my friend.
Supply chain, no thing.
Yeah, how short-sighted we can be. So people were calling me paranoid and like crazy for buying stuff, and then there's nothing on the shelves. I had to go to the grocery store for like this and that. It doesn't matter to me, right? Like I'm not panicked or anything, but like I go by the grocery store to get something people aren't panic buying, which would be something like people were panic buying wine. Which that was a surprise, and like all the bread was gone, but the tortillas weren't. So the Mexicans were completely unconcerned about not having any kind of. Actually, they're probably making their own tortillas, but all the tortillas remained. All the pasta was gone, and all the bread was gone. I'm like, okay, bought all the bread, plenty of meat.
Yeah, also eggs were gone here for some reason. After the first day of the soft lockdown.
Oh yeah. Oh, here's Raul. We got Raul Nyanzi too.
What's up, Raul? How you been, man?
Hi.
Thanks for hopping on.
Thanks for having me.
So I guess there's 97 in Argentina. Probably declare a national quarantine for tomorrow. Now, people are like, why would you freak out over like 97 people getting sick? It's that could mean that they've gotten, because there's this incubation period with this virus, that there's, an orders of magnitude more people have it. And if you stop it early, then you can really hopefully make a difference. I've seen a couple interesting models to that where it's like if some very small percentage of the people socially isolate or self-quarantine, it reduces the transmission rate of the virus by like a huge amount, much more than you would think. It's like it's a multiplicative effect.
I don't know too much about virology, but I've heard of something in political activism called the 10% rule of activism, where if you can get a dedicated 10% to push an ideology, it'll come across as the majority through as seeming like a majority, or it will filter through to the majority.
Oh yeah. I think
this may be a similar principle.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's it. Like it will, once you reach a certain threshold. So
Well, there's an Italian town where they just tested this, where they have effectively stopped the transmission of the virus.
yeah,
It's a town of 3,300. They just tested everyone, put the 3% of the population that tested positive on strict lockdown, and they really had no new cases in like 10 days.
yeah, I can believe that.
Yeah, there are similar stories, I think, from the Black Death also. I think also was in Italy where a couple of towns just completely locked themselves off from everybody else, and they were fine. The rest of the country was dying. So I mean, isolation works.
To what Raul was saying, there's ideologically, Nassim Taleb has actually talked about this as minority rule, is that if you have a minority that's fervent enough in their beliefs, once they reach a certain threshold, like 10%, then it just becomes optionally their preferences end up being the majority preferences. So just for an example, like if you go down to the store and you pick up like a bottle of lemonade and you flip it over, you'll find that lemonade is kosher and halal. Now, it's like, why? I mean, are there so many people that need kosher and halal lemonade that they made it that way? It's like, well, there's enough of it that the optionality is you make it because everyone will drink kosher lemonade, right? Everyone will accept the kosher version of it, but this group over here won't accept the kosher version of it. So even though they're a small percentage, like 2-3%, it's enough to make the entire product match their desires. So we see things like that happen, where the optionality is really towards adjusting to the minority, and the more intolerant the minority is, the more they can actually propagate their preferences out onto the greater culture. And I think you could see that with, like, say, Muslim immigration in different parts of Europe, where cities become de facto Muslim majority, even though they're 20% Muslim, because that 20% is very intolerant of not having their preferences met for day-to-day life. Meat has to be halal. People have to act or dress a certain way. You know, you can't walk into certain areas of the city, say, without, hijab or something like that. You see things like that. It's really, really interesting to watch.
Getting back to the spread of the virus to South America, did anybody see that poll post from like back in January where the dude claimed to be in finance and he predicted that the markets would crash in March? He also predicted that Italy would be the first really big hotspot outside China. So 2 of his predictions have come true. The third is, if this gets to South America, run like hell, because it claimed to have an in at the CDC who said that, if this gets to certain bat populations, it's going to mutate into something with like a 15% death rate or something like that. Anybody else see that?
Oh, I think I saw someone share it on Twitter. I mean, Medico shared it probably. I've been following his coverage of it, so it's been hilarious.
Yeah, he's really got the best, honestly, which he admits is horrifying. It could just be a LARP. I mean, this guy's got 2 out of 3 right.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of where I live too.
Well, the bigger issue, I think, with South America is that it would prove that the virus can spread effectively in warm climates, which people are
right. That's the scary thing, right? Yeah.
So, and the thing about spreading in climates too, I mean, this is just what I've heard, is it really has to do with human behavior, not the temperature itself. Is that the temperature correlates with a different set of human behavior. So flu season happens in the winter in North America, not because it's cold, but because cold makes people get closer together physically more often. They stay inside more. They do more things indoors. They don't spend as much time separated from each other doing outdoor things. And as a result, it increases the transmission rate of all illness. That's why you get colds in it. It has really nothing to do with being cold, but it has to do with the behaviors that are associated with it. And I think you also see more severe flu in general where it's colder in the winter, because people do this to a greater degree. Whereas, like, me and John live in California, winter here, a brisk winter day here is 48 degrees,
I am so cold today.
It's been pretty rainy the last couple of days.
Well, but over here we're in the 60s most of the time, so it didn't get below the 40s here all winter.
It's 50 right
it's,
now. My
Yeah,
God.
Israel basically has the same weather as California Central Valley. It's like really similar. So
yeah. I mean,
they have the same
in the
thing.
north it does get colder, but in the center of the country, it definitely it's also a warmer climate.
But the
I
real
definitely
question
also
is,
noticed
how's the
when
humidity?
I was in the army, like living in close quarters with people for long periods of time, I definitely got sick more often when I was in the army, living on base, because a couple dozen guys living in the same building.
Yeah.
Like everything gets around much faster. So it's another way to see how that works. The more you're around people, the more likely you are to get stuff and pass it.
It's like a marching band or a drum corps. It's like everyone will get sick.
Yeah.
It's like impossible to isolate yourself from other people. You're just like cramped into buses all the time, transport with other people. Probably sharing spit too. It's probably here. Let me show you how to play this on your horn. Whoops! Now I'm sick.
Yeah.
Some people around here think it's nothing. By the way, Jack Gould. A lot of people around here think it's nothing, but it's, you're at the early. So they're like, why is everyone overreacting? It's like you want to react early rather than late. You want to panic early, not late. Panicking late is not usually preferable to panicking early.
Well, we got a plague, and we got like locusts swarming in Africa. So this could be prophecy time, guys.
Yeah. Now there's actually you can actually get locusts here in California. It's happened a couple times. So locusts, this is interesting. Locusts are grasshoppers, but they metamorphosize into locusts when their population reaches a certain density. There's something about their pheromones triggers them to grow bigger and like bigger wings and just swarm away. And it's like it's a reaction to overpopulation. It's really, really weird. But they're grasshoppers. So if you get
grasshoppers.
they're souped up grasshoppers. So what is the species of locust? It's actually a grasshopper that goes through this weird transformation, kind of like lemmings. Even though I've heard that like the lemmings jumping over the cliff thing's not real. Like I guess Disney might have done that for movies, make all the lemmings jump off the hill, and then they filmed it. I don't know if that's true or not.
You want to talk about prophecy? Have any of you seen the supposed screen cap from a Reddit Ask Me Anything with Bill Gates, where he talks about coming up with like a tattoo data dot like subdermal marker for when people get vaccine. Yeah.
Real number of the beast stuff. Real number of the beast stuff.
Yeah. And I was just thinking of that too, because this is so a lot of people that have been thinking about like Mark of the Beast type stuff were like, well, it's going to be like maybe a chip, that they put in you. And that's really going to be the Mark of the Beast, because I'm like, we kind of already have it almost with like a driver's license, or like a social security number. You have a number that you can't do anything without, like that social security number. And that's like a weird thing to think about, but.
Well, what Gates was even talking about was like, okay, so how do we know like which essential services and businesses to keep open? And then when the pandemic's dying down, how do we know who it's safe to hire so they won't infect everybody else?
Right.
What'll be with this data dot. So you can literally not buy yourself. You can't have a job unless you've got this subdermal like tattoo on your hand.
In education, they already do this with like tuberculosis screening. So you have to, every couple of years, you have to go get screened for tuberculosis, and they put like a little prick in your skin. And if your skin reacts to it, it's like a dead, it's a dead version of it. Then you've been exposed, and then you have to like have a chest x-ray to make sure you don't have tuberculosis. It's becoming a bigger issue because a lot of our kids are from Mexico, where tuberculosis is just a lot more common. They don't screen for it as much. There is actually a tuberculosis vaccine, but it's not widespread. So you get a lot of teachers who end up getting kind of accidentally exposed to tuberculosis through their students, because the students end up not being fully screened either. So it's kind of an interesting thing. Yeah. So what
They have
random
to go back.
what random things have you guys seen missing at stores? Have you guys gone to the stores, or you just like, no, I already got my stuff?
I've been
a week. Yeah.
I've been a couple of times this week.
Yeah.
On Sunday there were no eggs, there were no onions, there was no bread. And those are the main ones that I noticed, but those all got restocked by Tuesday.
It seems really random. Like,
yeah,
I know some people were raiding the frozen foods, but they were, at least in my store, were leaving the canned goods untouched. Like, what the?
Yeah.
What the heck? I'm getting some cans.
That's what I went for, Brian. Like, because I did my panic shopping probably a month and a half ago now.
Yeah.
And that's what we did, is we just bought a ton of canned food, because it's like, well, the stuff that's going to be there, that we're going to want 3 months from now, I mean, you want to not have to shop 3 months from now. That's the point, right? I thought.
Yeah.
But oh well.
Yeah, you and Dave will be glad to know I have my whey protein.
Yeah.
Awesome. So do I.
Yeah, I got a couple bags of that. I bought things that I would eat anyway. I just bought a little bit more of them. And so that's as much panic buying as I did. I didn't buy Spam or anything because I'm like, I don't really want to eat Spam. So I'm not going to get
Spam doesn't taste good. Spam doesn't taste good.
I think the only time I've had Spam taste good was like you can cut it up and like fry it like in a pan, and it kind of tastes like a hot dog when you do that. But
my wife likes Spam. Like, I don't know. She just does. I can't account for it.
I'm like, I don't want to buy Spam, or like it'd be like trying to eat sea rations, something like that. Something that's, I have a box of MREs. I have no intention to eat the box of MREs unless I need to have an MRE because we're like leaving the house. Like if we have to evacuate because of a wildfire or something, then yeah, I'll bring MREs. But otherwise, like, why would you choose to eat an MRE when you can cook rice at your own house?
Right.
I don't know. I wouldn't do it. So the random thing that I've seen now, that the alcohol one was really interesting. Like, why are people people were buying like 4 bottles of vodka? And the way it works is that if you go to the store and you see shelves starting to be emptied, it will trigger a basic rational response. It's not an irrational response. Now I want to get this across. It's not an irrational response. It's a rational response, which is there may not be pasta the next time I'm here, so I better buy pasta now.
Right.
In case I want to get it later and it's not here. So just by seeing shelves that are a little bit more empty, people automatically buy the thing that they see less of because they have evidence in front of them that other people are buying it. Therefore, they need to buy it if they actually want to have that. Now, I didn't panic buy alcohol because we don't really drink that much alcohol, and we have alcohol. So it's not like I need it, so I just didn't panic buy that. Or really bread. It's like we have enough bread. Bread's not going to last that long. So I don't need to buy like 5 loaves of bread, I can't imagine why anyone did it, but the bread
I'm gonna have to dip out because my device's battery is dying, but for a very good reason.
Okay. All right. Well,
yeah. It's dying because of a writing session.
That's good.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's a good reason.
Yeah.
Raul,
yeah.
I'll
Remember
drink.
how I said?
I drink this one for you, brother.
Oh, it's a libation.
Thank you.
All right.
And also,
have a good one.
That thing. Yeah, I said that thing. You remember how I said that I was going to announce that thing at the end of March?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to because of all this craziness going on. But there's actually kind of some good news there because now I can get it a bit more. I can get it a bit more straight.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
And trust me, y'all are gonna love it. I will only say that. Yeah, I will. I'll only say this though. It is a Gundam for Us related, but it's not Shining Tomorrow related.
Nice.
Okay.
All right.
All right, then. I'm going to have to dip out now. All right, y'all have your fun, okay?
All right.
All right. Later.
Okay. Have a good one.
Hey, good night.
All right. All the morons in my town avoided the store brand aisle, so I got bread, cheese, meat, etc. Now, now John's drinking a White Claw. I'm gonna. There's something interesting. The only booze that was left was White Claw and champagne.
There were White Claws. Oh man,
No, that was all that was left. Was like all the other beer was starting to get cleared out, but there was like
You should be stockpiling. I mean, the first thing to go is going to be the claws. So,
You ever try mixing those? Is that any kind of known mixed drink?
yeah, what I do is I pour vodka in White Claw, and then it's like vodka and soda, but better.
I just
what
want
about champagne
to come back. Where's Zima? I missed the Zima. They brought the Zima back for a while, and I went and bought a bunch and drank it with my friends, and they're like, "Man, it's like I didn't remember Zima being this good." I'm like, "I know."
Who owns the Zima brand? Zima brand.
I think it's actually one of the bigger companies, but they only make it in Japan. So you can still get Zima in Japan, but they stopped selling it over here for some reason.
Interesting.
I'd heard they brought it back. The hipsters realized it sucked and they started buying it.
Ask John how much he liked D&D with Ralph and the crew.
Oh, that was so much fun. Very happy to do that. I'm very surprised they let me play Scott Adams as a tiefling paladin, and like didn't call me on that as the entire stream just kept going. What's the persuasion filter here? I figured that would get annoying after like 5 minutes, and they still let me do it. So
They're tough but fair to the kill stream.
Yeah, Zima was legit. First thing I got drunk off, Metatron says. Well, I think the first beer I ever had was just like a Bud Light, and it was terrible. And but we drank it anyway, and Zima came later. But Zima was always like, if you got a Zima, people are like, why aren't you drinking beer? It's like I wanted to drink something that doesn't taste like a rancid butthole that you bought for like $2, because like a lot of the domestic beers, I mean, this is back in, a long time ago. Domestic beers generally taste really bad.
It's very true.
I got to say, nice handle, Metatron. That's the name of my avatar. It's great minds think alike.
Yeah. Sound Engraver says she's teaching music online. The schools in North Carolina are looking at 8 weeks staying home. Now, I've never really done like online music lessons, really. That always seems rather difficult. I think I've done a couple of them. That always seems a little bit difficult because I'm always like, I got to reach over and fix your hands. Your hands are wrong. But that's interesting. My brother-in-law is trying to figure out how to do it too. He's a music teacher as well, and he's like, I think I'm going to have like a live stream office hour and have people come in, and then I can, just do it that way. But we have the technology to do it now, and this might be an interesting situation where people realize that we could do a lot more remote work than we thought, especially with education. That might be an interesting revelation.
Just need to figure out how to make it work efficiently. I have a course. I just started a marketing course that we started a week ago. And then like after the first 2 sessions, that's when they announced all the schools are being closed. And then they moved it over to online to do it over Zoom. And I got into it for the first time today on Zoom. It was kind of a mess. But I think it's just because they were figuring out how to manage it still and how to use everything. So hopefully they'll figure it out pretty quickly, but it is definitely an adjustment to make, but it also is more convenient. I don't have to commute half an hour to get there now. So it's
yeah. And I look at that and it's like conventional learning is you go and you sit in a lecture hall and you listen to the professor lecture and you take notes. You don't have to be physically present to get the information that way. And if you have something like an interface where you could ask the teacher questions, then that basically replaces the lecture session. And then what are you left with?
Yeah.
There's actually not that much. So Unit 2 says...
The main problem is if you're at home.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The main problem is if you're at home, you could get distracted much more easily because you guys mute yourself and do whatever you want while the lecture is going on. You're not forced to sit in the classroom
It's true.
or the lecture hall and pay
Although,
attention.
although I had a friend who used to play World of Warcraft during lectures, so he managed to do that.
Yeah,
somehow.
well, yeah, in big lecture halls, you get away with it.
Yeah, Brian. Actually, I bet Brian has a bit more opinion on that too. What's your opinion on more like distance learning and figuring out that more things can be done remotely?
Oh well, I mean that will be the salvation of Gen Y, if anything will. Okay, it's just I mean, people are talking about like we were before the show about big city folks and about this entire like domesticated generation not knowing how to cook. Well, YouTube does.
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned a ton of stuff. I've learned automotive repair. I've learned recipes. I've learned like guerrilla computer programming from online. I've pretty much learned my entire publishing operation online. So yeah,
I've learned my entire publishing operation online too. So that was kind of a lot of self-learning. But yeah, I think so. I have this. I don't know. I don't want to ruffle too many feathers, but here we go. So the whole idea of having an employee come to work and sit in a cubicle to do a specified task that has a specified completion goal to it on a computer seems ridiculous. That seems like a master like slave relation. It's like I need to be watching over you all the time while you're working. You have to give 8 hours of your day to me, even though there's a specific set of tasks that you have to complete.
I 100% agree with you. Yeah,
I agree.
It's not a good feeling.
It's just how many processes and how many people, honestly, are totally superfluous to things actually getting done. Mm-hmm. It's like I was reading the Z blog a couple days ago, and he talks about how there was a period during the last big recession, 2008, 2009, where he worked at a smaller company, and they're like, okay, well, we're going to have to trim down like half the work.
I solved the problem.
Okay, good. All these cost-saving measures. And he was thinking, oh, great, so my workload is going to double here. And it didn't, because they just got rid of all like the busy work and make work people and left the guys who were essential. And he went to his boss and was like, wow, like 20% of the people here have been doing 80% of the work. And his boss just smiled at him. So I think we're going to find that out in a lot of areas.
Oh, that's definitely true.
That's the Pareto principle. Like, it's everywhere.
I started in investment banking, guys. Believe it or not, and I was in a corporation, and I got in. And I remember it was my first week on the job, and my boss in there. There's a bunch of us analysts in there, and he's like, the culture here, even though we can't legally keep you for longer than 8 hours a day, is that you're supposed to be here working for 12, 14 hours a day as an analyst and show your dedication to the company. I'm like, and I quickly found out, like, I got most of my work done in about 6 hours, and I was bored. And I looked around, and, I'd see people, surfing different games and things like that on their computers and stuff like that. And they're like, we're going to be here late tonight. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm going home, and I'd leave at 5, and nobody, and of course everybody's like, and I'm like, my work's done. And I'm like, if they want to give me work, I'll do it. And it was a very interesting culture. They would kind of screw off during the day so that they could like just have that appearance of being there for hours. And it was just nutty to me. Moreover, I got so bored, I started trying to generate sales and things like that. And I got called into the manager's office, and it was like a Lumberg situation where the guy, he's tapping his pen, just like looking like an idiot, and he goes, "John, I've had discussions with upper management, and you need to not do more than you're asked to do." And I'm like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" So I didn't last very long in that environment.
Yeah. So I mean, and going back to education, this is the thing with education that's just kind of present. There's two kinds of teachers. There's teachers who, and this is purely approaching the work ethic, not like quality or anything like that. There's teachers who do basically exactly what they're asked to do. And then there's teachers who do a whole bunch more. And the teachers who do a whole bunch more are the ones who always complain about how hard teaching is. And the teachers who do exactly what their contract requires them to do generally don't complain. I'm really in that camp of I did exactly what the contract required of me. And, other teachers were like, oh, kids are coming in at lunch for help. I'm like, why are you giving up your union negotiated lunch hour to kids to help them? And it's like, well, because they need the help. It's like, you need to get better at instructing them during class time. You need to eat your lunch, It's like this is the administration wants me to help the kids. They feel like there's this pressure from the administration to basically bend over backwards and give up all of their free time, for the kids. It's like, don't you care about the kids? It's like, I care about the kids as much as I'm paid to care about the kids. Of course I care about the kids, but I also care about my own life and my own free time. So that's what's that. And actually, I used to get a lot more writing done as a teacher than as a stay-at-home dad, simply because I had those union negotiated breaks and I wrote through all of them.
And chat just reminded me of something pursuant to that really most people only do 4 hours of productive work a day. And it's not because they slack off or just spacing out. That's really all the human mind and body can do, because after that 4 hour mark, there's a diminishing return to the point where even if you start working overtime, the number of errors you creep in your work, or just the amount you slow down as you lose energy, wipes it out. It isn't worth it.
Yeah, wipes out the productivity. I did this.
Also, I noticed that level grinding in a video game feels the exact same way.
Yeah, they say you should take a break, right? But if you're getting to the point where you're about to whip that control across the room, just
you have that on all the load screens. It's like, it's okay to take a break. Remember to adventure outside of Azeroth with your friends as well, was when that would pop up.
I could just feel like, I'm tired of doing this, and then I actually have to go do something else. Imagine that.
Yeah, this is my first big piece of advice for people who are going to be at home all day for the next however many days. If you're like, man, I'm going to bust out some hard work, I'm going to write a book. Trust me, it's way harder to work all day on a book than to just work a couple hours, because your focus is not geared towards 8 hours of writing. You got to write a little bit, take a break. You got to break up your workload throughout the day if you want it to actually be productive. So try to sit down, write a couple hundred words or 1,000 words, go do something else, go eat breakfast, mow the lawn, fix the toilet or something, which are 2 things I think I need to do tomorrow. Just break it up over the day. So when you work those 8 hours, it's broken them into, say, 4 or 5 sessions. You'll find you get a lot more done, a lot in less time too, because your brain needs that release. It needs to defocus. And
this is true.
And you come back down a little bit later and you're ready to go. I notice this a lot with music. If I get up and walk away, I come back, I'll go do another task, and boom, ideas start coming back in my head. I come back in and I can get them on tape or write them down, and it's do much better that way.
Yeah, I think David, you might have mentioned this, but my buddy Adam Lane Smith also has brought this up, and he's actually like a clinical therapist, so he studies more deeply into how the mind works. But burnout, the way you treat it isn't by going and doing nothing and just vegging out. That actually doesn't help the overused part of your brain cool down. You want to go do something that's the opposite kind of task. So writing is very right-brained. You want to go do something left-brained, like do a logic problem, do a crossword, do Sudoku or something, put a puzzle together for an hour, then come back and do
a workout.
Or play a video game.
So if I'm writing, that's something I'll do. This is actually something I do for my own creative process, is I go work out before I do my nightly writing. And then I always end with something enjoyable in and of itself, like read a book or play a game. And that really works for me. I think exercising the body just kind of realigns you, wakes you up, gets your mind really primed and focused. And I always listen to music when I'm working out. I don't actually listen to audiobooks that much. Sometimes I do, but I find that the music it's just good to have something different besides a book in my ears, and then come home and try to put a book on the page. It's a little bit tougher. bit tougher.
Hey, John, I'd be interested in your opinion because you're such a workhorse.
I'm not. I do not work that hard. So
but how are you so prolific? How are you so prolific though?
I'm not.
You're not?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, you released like a whole series while I was struggling through 3 different outlines for my Shining Tomorrow sequel.
Yeah, but I got a trilogy done over like a year. I did a couple other books too, but my output's like 4 or 5 books a year, novel wise. That's why I'm so much better at cranking out comic books, because I can just script faster than I can write novels. So it's like I can get these comics out and then get it to. I've got 6 artists I'm working with, and each one of them can be working on it, and it only took a couple of days of my time. But as far as what I do, I usually wake up and work out around 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. Then I blog and do my blog thing because people read that, so I have to. And then I maybe record a YouTube video after I've woken up and gotten showered and all that. Work for a little bit. Then I stream at the lunch stream, and then I usually start writing kind of mid-afternoon, later afternoon, and maybe about an hour, maybe 2 hours. And then that's it. So, today, as far as what I did, I outlined a new trilogy, so I can get that going. So I work from very robust outlines. So when I'm actually writing, I don't have to actually think about what's going on. And this
I wish I could do that.
That's it. So.
You see, I would outline, but then inevitably, I deviate from the outline.
I'm sorry.
See, I can't
help you with that.
Yeah, what I find that the outline does, though, is it helps me know where I'm going with the story.
Yeah.
So I'm not.
That's a big part
lost. Of it. So even if it isn't exact, I at least have direction. I cannot completely go off the seat of my pants. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, this one I've got a trilogy and I've got a co-writer on it, so we're gonna try to knock it out on our quarantine here for a whole trilogy. So we split it up between characters and did our whole talk and got it all done. Took an hour and a half to get book 1 broken down into scenes, and that was the work for. I might actually go through and write the first scene tonight after my 3rd White Claw or something. But
yeah. So, Jakob, what does your creative process usually look like? I always see you working at it like the Ninja Gym stuff.
Yeah, well, it's changed now because I was in the Army until December. So when I was there, it was very easy because I would go on shift for 8 hours at a time. And during those shifts, when really was not much happening, especially when I would often do night shift, I would just sit there with my laptop, and I had the radio next to me if I have to hear anything, but I would otherwise just be writing the whole time and then working out in between. So since then, I've been trying. I'm kind of readjusting my schedule because I'm looking for jobs now, which is not the best time I'm looking for work. But so right now, I'm just trying to juggle the writing and the other things I have to do also, like obviously other errands to do and job hunting, and then Ninja Gym, which I go twice a week to that. So because that's something like going for an hour and a half of that gym is like I can't physically do it more than twice a week because it's just so intense of like upper body especially. So I have to just I go Tuesday and I go Friday. So I have a couple of days to recover in between each time that I go. And then at home during the week, I'll do something. Like I'll do sit-ups or I'll do something else that's not arms related in the in-between days. And then I try and find time to write around. The problem is sometimes I get into the writing mode at midnight, and then I end up writing till 2, 3 a.m. and then my whole schedule was shot for the next day. But
yeah, but you were surprisingly you were surprisingly productive during your Army service. I thought I wouldn't be hearing from you for 18 months, but quite the opposite occurred.
As luck would have it, I didn't get the job that I initially wanted. I got a boring job that let me write the entire time, so it kind of worked out okay. And I wrote 4 books in 2 years. So.
And thank God for that, because I don't want to be hearing about you being in a body bag or something.
Yeah. It was like a fun Halloween prank.
Yeah, and for me, going back to being a teacher, I had to stay after school for an hour every day because that was a negotiated contract hour where I didn't have kids. So I just wrote during that hour. I had a prep period of an hour that was union negotiated. If I didn't have any work to do that was like related, you know, sometimes I had to go to IEPs or something, I would just write during that hour too, you know, why not? And I found that like I wrote the entire Water of Awakening book in like 4 or 5 weeks. Me and my brother-in-law worked at the same school. We were both music teachers at the same school. And we just made a pact. It's like, we're going to finish these books before school's out. And like, we both did it, you know, we both wrote these long books, like in a very short amount of time, just by being super strict about time. And we also recorded a podcast on the way to work. So we found like lots of ways, you know, because it's a 30-minute commute. So we whipped out my phone, recorded a writing podcast. During a break, I'd put it up, and then you know, then you try to find all that extra little time to write here and there. I really was super productive because the schedule was really strict. I find if everything is really loose, you waste a lot of time in transition. You know,
Yeah.
you have to maybe have a schedule.
That's the worst part of having too many tasks to do, and you can't decide what to do first, and then you end up doing nothing, and that's a big danger sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed is that when I write or do anything creative like that, I need kind of a long stretch of uninterrupted time. I can't just do it like in like the quick 5 minutes before work or something.
Yeah.
I just can't work that way.
I'm mostly like that. And I kind of found ways around it towards working in the margins where like, I'd be like, okay, I have 40 minutes of lunchtime. What am I going to write? And I would think about what I was going to write, and I would have it on my mind. And so when I sat down and opened it up, I could just very quickly hop into that zone. But I'm kind of like you. I really need a lot of uninterrupted time, especially with music.
I'd rather,
I'm working on music.
Yeah,
I
that
feel
was
like
better for me too.
I can't even imagine doing music.
Yeah, I just need a lot of time to sit there and like, because you're just iterating ideas. You're trying them out in different. You're not just like writing prose where you're just kind of going in one direction. Music's a different beast entirely.
Yeah.
So anyway, I found a lot. What about you, Brian? What does your creative process look like?
Process. Well, I'm definitely an outliner. I'd say probably 70-30 outline to then just not so much pantsing, but I get to know my characters really well. So I know what their motivations are, and I know what they're going to do. So I'm really equally plot and character driven. So I can just line them up and let them go. And I've never really understood authors who complain of having the problem of, the characters aren't doing what I want them to. Like, well, are they doing what they want to? That's the whole point. So I just get the outline done.
Yeah.
To the point where I have all the character motivations, I have the goals. That gives you the main conflict.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and I definitely want to see more of that Grand Duchess.
all in good time.
Yeah. So I outline probably in the same way that Brian does. Now here's how I actually begin a book, as I start by writing a scene. And by the way, Sound Engraver, I'm glad you appreciate the Writers of the Dawn podcast. We'd love to do more of it, but Matt and I, despite being married to a set of sisters, we just don't get to hang out that much because we're both dads. Our kids are both under 4. You know, it's just really hard. But we had that time during that time, and I was thankful for that. So I start off, and I have a kind of a story in my mind. I hate to say this, but because it sounds really arrogant, but stories kind of leap into my mind fully formed, like Athena leaping out of Zeus. So I have like a big story that will just kind of come together very quickly in my mind as far as like a big vision. And I'll write the first scene, and that will usually have the characters in it that I really have in my mind. And then from there, I stop and I go and I outline, and I do like a 70-30 outline. I outline the big events and I write down who the characters are and like some things about them. Then the events of who's doing what when. I just have like an event list. Then I get to writing, and that gives me a lot of freedom when I'm drafting to kind of, you know, play with the dialogue, play with that, and then I can go back and just revise that outline mid draft if I want to, if I come up with better ideas, which I've done. I've done that before, and it's actually worked out. So If you come up with a little bit better idea for one of the events, you can just go back and re-outline and do that. And you don't even have to do that much in the revision phase to kind of shore it up. I feel like some people really heavily outline, and if that works for you, that's great. They're like, scene 1, scene 2, scene 3, scene 4. And if that's you, that's great. I can't do it quite that way, or I'm just not very interested in the drafting process, and that's just kind of the way I do it. So other people,
my outlines are just by chapter. It just preset. Just go there and just go from there. I don't go super deep. Like each chapter has like a paragraph, maybe 2 paragraphs of what needs to happen, and then from there I have room to adjust a little bit as I go. But then I don't usually change my outlines very much. And then fortunately, so far my revisions haven't required me to change a whole lot either. So it's worked out.
One thing I've recently started doing was, I'll tell you this right now. I don't know how y'all feel about it, but at least for me, I find that the 3-act structure really, 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 really helps.
Yeah, having an idea of what kind of events you want, I think, really helps, and that's where the 3-act structure can help. As you have an idea of what function does an event need to have, and then
that's true.
Then it helps you to really think clearly about what that event's actually going to be. And by the way, this kind of stuff, this is the stuff that you almost never will hear in a literature. Like if you're a literature major, they almost never talk about this kind of stuff. And even in
they don't talk about that. They don't. Oh wait, I have a story about creative writing. I remember. Yeah, I remember. I was in college and I took a creative writing class because I like to write. And I remember they specifically barred genre fiction from being written. So I'm like, huh. I was kind of SOL.
Yeah,
I did it anyway. I did it anyway, and I managed to still get a B. So we're okay.
I should have done that. Yeah. It's like I tried to write something that was at least kind of exciting, but I don't think I succeeded. What I wrote around that time is really embarrassing.
Well, I mean, you're always going to suck at something the first time you do it. So if you're new to writing or really anything, just expect your early work to just not be your best. I know people get excited about writing a book and they jump into it and they're like, man, this is going to be the next Lord of the Rings. And then they write it and then they're like, give it to somebody and they're like, I don't really like this. And then they get a little bit better and they go back and look at their first books. And I've done this before,
Oh, by the way,
writing, and it's like, wow, this is bad.
I have a lot of early writing, like especially a lot of stuff I wrote in high school that was fan fiction. I still have it, and it is really bad. But also, I used to actually try to write stuff in elementary school too. Again, I don't think I have those though. But
I think I have a couple of elementary school stories I wrote.
I like the first draft of my first book that I wrote. I started writing it back when I was like in elementary school also, and I have that initial first draft that became one of my actual books. But there's only some basic things in common, and the rest of it's pretty bad.
Yeah. But also a bit more recently, I'd say maybe 5-6 years ago. I forget exactly, and I'm too lazy to look it up. I actually wrote a book that tells kind of a complete story, actually, except here's the twist. The main character is killed by her boyfriend. I mean, it's a genre book, mind you. This isn't some lit fic stuff. But the main character is murdered by her boyfriend, and the story just kind of stops there.
Okay. Yeah, Jared says he writes down an outline based on an idea, and things change as you write, and where the story goes. Yeah, as long as you know if you don't have an ending in mind for your story, you probably shouldn't write the beginning. Maybe that's like a good piece of advice.
I agree.
Yeah. You want to at least know what you're ending. I wrote a couple stories. I think the first story I ever wrote was actually a ghost story about like a haunted house, and that's I don't know where it is. I might have it somewhere. I might like go look it up and see what my like 6-year-old.
If I were to revisit that story where that character is murdered, I would probably give it a much happier ending. and have her actually be alive to the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I actually didn't intend to end the story there. It's that it's like the rest of the party, so to speak, was supposed to continue the quest to kill the evil witch, but I just never got back around to it.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm looking at chat. People talk about MREs, saying they were pretty good when you needed them. They tasted great at the time after the hurricane.
There's a YouTube channel that actually reviews MREs.
No way. That's funny.
I've heard about it. I haven't watched them. I've heard about.
Yes, I've seen. Speaking of which, somebody literally ate a hardtack from the Civil War.
Oof.
Wow. Well, there's still a bunch of C rations from that are kicking around. And this is really interesting. When my dad was in the army,
no. This wasn't a reproduction of a hardtack. This was an actual hardtack.
It was it itself
in the era. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he ate it.
I've heard of stuff like that too. If the food's like really dehydrated, it actually can last a long time. People don't really. They're like, how does a McDonald's hamburger last for 5 years? I'm like, there's no moisture content in it. It's simple when it's like completely mummified. But
continue. Sorry for interrupting you. Continue.
Yeah, when my dad was in the army, they ate C rations, which are these cans, and so every C ration came in a box and it had a can of Sterno, a little stove that you could heat them up on. They figured out that the cans that they were eating in the 80s were canned during World War II or before. Wow. So they were eating food that was 50 years old at the time, which was kind of insane to think about. But that's what they had. This is before MREs. MREs didn't really become a thing until like Gulf One. So like they used C rations for a long time, and they lasted a long time. The MREs are way easier to carry though, as far as like weight. A C ration can is pretty heavy. So carrying that stuff around, if you're like infantry, it's not preferable. I've learned way more about writing, philosophy, and rhetoric from various author blogs and podcasts than my humanities degree.
Oh, yeah.
That's painful.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
So I've told this story before. I had an English lit professor, and we were studying The Importance of Being Earnest, the play by Oscar Wilde. And it's actually a pretty funny play. It really like holds up pretty well, I think, as a sitcom. It's basically, if you look at it as like an early sitcom, it's pretty great. She didn't understand that the title of the play was a play on words. We're like, oh yeah, it's a good play on words. Importance of being earnest, and they're both pretending to be a guy named Ernest. That Ernest is his actual name. So they're trying to act earnestly, and also they're named Ernest. And she's like, you mean honest? Act honest. She's like, earnest is not a word. We're like, yes, it is.
I mean, even when I was like in high school, I knew it was a word.
We're like, yes, it is. It's like, no, people only say that because like this play is called The Importance of Being Earnest. I'm like, no. And we like went and looked it up. We're like, this is from Old English. This is an 8th century word. It's worth 1,000 years old. But I totally believe that. And it's all directed towards. So this is the thing about university educations, and having taught at the university level as like a music teacher, they tend to be geared towards people to teach in college, right? Like you're teaching people how to teach more people in college. You're not really teaching people how to be successful writers or successful musicians. There's no business element in like a music degree for the most part. Yeah. And half the stuff that you learn about is really superfluous. I mean, it's kind of enrichment to what the core experience really ought to be about. And in fact, I've knew multiple people that got to their senior recital and had never played solo before their senior recital. Now, for your cumulative recital experience, if that's the first time you've played in front of people by yourself, that's a problem to me. But that it happened a lot. Where, if you were actually trying to study music, you'd be thinking about business, you'd be studying all different forms of popular music because that's what you'd be trying to market. you're trying to do stuff that people want to listen to, you wouldn't spend your time playing Arnold Schoenberg because no one likes to listen to Arnold Schoenberg. I mean, compared to anything else. Just one of the things I noticed.
Yeah.
Brian,
Yes.
you're gonna delay the crowdfund considering what's going on.
I don't know. Well, we'll have to see.
Yeah.
We're planning a book launch for this month. I know David's too.
Yeah, I am too. So yeah, next
Had a book
week,
out today.
Prolific Creativity is coming out. So yeah, the my book is coming out next Friday. It's going to come out. So as an ebook, it will be available. I will have a print book available, but be aware, anybody that wants a print book, there's going to be possibly some shipping delays because Amazon has said they're prioritizing medical supplies. So
And
it could
food.
take longer than normal.
Yeah, they're prioritizing food too. So
I had a book come out today because I planned this for a while already, and it's like, well, I can't do anything about it now. It's already scheduled, so now here it is, and the print books are going to be a little bit slower to come also, because also getting the proof copy is going to take a long time also.
Brian,
Yes.
I would delay your crowdfund. I've definitely noticed a big slowdown, compared to prior crowdfunds. Of course, I had a problem at the beginning where my books couldn't be searched for at all. But the end ramp up has also been a lot slower than before. So I would try to push that back 3-4 weeks if you can.
Well, I wasn't going to do it until like the end of May anyhow.
Okay, you'll probably be fine by then.
Yeah, smart move. Yeah, and also as I said earlier, the thing that I'm preparing, I said this way earlier. It would make it way more psychologically easier for me to write the second volume of Shining Tomorrow once I get this other thing done.
Yeah. Bradford says he's been muling a delay for the crowdfund for Star Knight 2 and 3. It really does depend on the state of the economy in the next few weeks. So
I would. Hey, Bradford, by the way.
Yeah, hey, Brad. I don't blame you at all, Brad.
Yeah,
I'd say just wait.
That. Yeah. So like, what's the optionality of waiting? It's like if you.
Well, the only problem is you don't know how long it's going to last for. That's the thing. How long you want to delay it for? You have to decide also. Because like I wanted to launch crowdfund for Galaxy Ascendant 7 in April at some point. I mean, I might need to be able to delay it now, but I don't know. Like if this downturn is going to last 6 months, and I don't want to wait 6 months to put out the last book in the series. I want to keep moving forward.
But at the same time, you don't want to cast seeds into a desert.
Yeah. No, of course.
Yes. Yeah.
That's
exactly.
It's I think up in the air right now.
And I think there's going to be, and you could possibly try to hedge a bet. You could delay it a little bit, and then maybe for the next, maybe you split it into 2 crowdfunds. The next crowdfund, there's some option that gives people the past one as well, in case they just weren't able to do it, or they wanted to. But something I've noticed is that
very attractive.
Yeah, something that I am actually anticipating over this next month, and I want to repeat this again. I haven't talked about it since the beginning of the podcast, but we're going to put out a little free ebook. In fact, I wanted to put it out already. That's got stuff in it from everybody that's on right now, except for Rawl. But we'll get you in the next collection. There's going to be a free ebook. It's going to right now it's at like 200,000 words, and I think. Who put in? I think John Mollison has a full-length book in it.
Wow.
So he's like, I have a full-length unpublished book. Just put that in there. So we're like, okay, we're shipping it. So all of there's some substantial content in here. There's stories that are from 3,000 words on up to, I think I'm including all of Crown of Sight, which was my last fantasy book that came out at the end of last year. Or not Crown of Sight. City of Silver.
David. Yeah. David, I just remembered something. Are you still taking entries?
Yeah, I haven't published it yet because I haven't designed the cover yet. I got.
I'm actually going to send you one of my older stories. It's only some flash fiction that's about 1,000 or so words long. Matter of fact, as a matter of fact, I'll send you kind of all 6 of my little Age of Petty States flash fictions. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, send me what you got, and we'll. I'll see what I can do to cram it in there. So we have that.
It would just be 6,000 words total.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably great. That's gonna be a good amount. So when we were putting it out, I think I'm gonna call it what was I gonna call it? The Corona Chan Pulp Spectacular, which will have just a bunch of stuff in it. It's gonna be a free ebook. I expect a lot of people with time on their hands to actually be consuming more entertainment over the next month.
Yeah. For example. Yeah. Oh yeah. For example. Yeah. Just this afternoon, I cleared a run on Fire Emblem 3 Houses. Just finish off the last couple levels.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love Fire Emblem series.
Yeah, I'm on the last.
Yes.
I'm on the last level, but I haven't played in a while because I've been traveling and stuff. So I'm gonna try to finish that up and do a story.
Which Fire Emblem?
Fire Emblem 3 Houses.
Which run?
I did the church.
That's the only one I didn't do yet. I did everybody else. I did Claude's run. I did Edelgard's run, and I just finished Dimitri's run. I still need to do the church.
I did Black. So if you do Black Eagles and you don't go with
Edelgard.
Edelgard, then you're with the church. You're like the head of the church. And I'm like Edelgard's a heretic. She needs to be burned at the stake, And so I guess I showed my more.
I don't. I can see why you'd say that.
Yeah, I went with the church. So I'll probably do an analysis on it this weekend. Got some good footage that I was managing.
Yeah, I'll tell you that if that's how you feel, you'd also like the Blue Lions run.
Yeah. I think I'd probably like that one too.
Yeah, I just finished it. You'll like that one.
Yeah. Anyway, that one I think we're gonna call it the Corona Chan Pulp Spectacular. Look for that. It's going to be free. I do expect a lot of people to be consuming more entertainment because they're not doing as much stuff. So that's going to be a bit of boredom. This is something that people often forget, and they're kind of freaking out. They're like, Hollywood's suspending production on movies. It's like during economic downturns, people actually spend more on entertainment than normal. And it's because they're not doing things like going on vacations. Right, vacations can be expensive, so instead they go to the cinema to spend their free time, or they go to the ball game or something like that. So economic downturns for the entertainment industry are not necessarily a bad thing.
I can't go to the ball game, and that pisses me off right now. It's ruining my life.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I noticed you really like baseball, John.
About baseball.
Yeah, I heard for the Arnold. I heard for the Arnold Classic in Columbus, they had the whole bodybuilding show, but no audience, just like photographers and judges. Are they doing that for baseball? I haven't paid attention.
No, they've shut it down.
Play
they've got it shut down right now. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's delayed. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be cool if just had the teams play and just film crews in the teams.
I'd watch it on TV.
Yeah,
if they were doing it.
Yes, no,
but
I think it's
the problem
they streamed it. They streamed it free. I would watch it too.
Right? You guys saw the basketball player who was like an idiot about it and then spread Corona throughout the NBA, right?
Licking microphones and
and he was like, "I'm scared of this," and he just started touching all the reporters and grabbing, like Brian said, licking the microphones and stuff. Suddenly, he's got it, and like 2 other members of the NBA got it, so they shut down the whole league. So I think that they're even afraid of congregating the teams, even without the crowds there. Sad.
Well, if there's no crowd, they have the whole team sit in the stand and just wait there.
That's something else we might learn is that once we get weaned off, once we get through the withdrawal phase from a lot of this entertainment made by people who hate us, is we don't really miss it all that much.
Yeah.
Again, this could be a huge opportunity for guys like us in the Pulp. By the way, alternate title idea, David, Corona Chan and the Pulp Revolution.
Oh yeah.
Alternately,
yeah, baby.
Experience featuring John Lawson.
and I come up with some names and see what people like. If you're watching, let me see if I could pull up a straw poll. All right, let's come up with some names because this will be fun. So,
Pull the chat. Let's see what chat's got.
yeah, Chad, if you have a name for the Corona Chan special,
Infectious stories.
Ooh.
Yeah.
that'd be a good subtitle: "Infectious Stories" for infectious tales of weird fiction. So I'm gonna do Corona Chan Pulp Spectacular. What was the one you came up with, Brian?
I came up with two. The first one was Corona Chan and the Pulp Revolution, kind of on 80s Prince there. And then the other was the Corona Experience featuring John Mollison.
David, I have a great idea.
Love it.
If you ever decide to start talking Fire Emblem on your podcast or something, have me on too, because I'm like a huge Fire Emblem fan.
Okay, yeah, I love Fire Emblem. Actually, I really actually do like Fire Emblem a lot. There's so many good games actually.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I could talk for days about it, but okay, continue with your Corona Chan title thing.
Corona Chan's Big Book of Bedtime Stories.
Wow, that has an ominous ring to it. Since you might be sleeping, since you might be sleeping forever.
I have another one here. Corona Chan, Spreading the Love.
Oh, good one.
But the third bowl of bad soup was just right.
Oh, I like Adam's Pulp Demic. That's good.
What'd you say?
Pulp Demic. That's good.
Yeah.
I already have a really simple cover image that George Alexopoulos did for me of Corona Chan hugging the earth.
Oh, so you're not doing this one?
Yeah. There's so many. There's too many options here, so I'm gonna let's get rid of that one. And let's see here. Let's create the poll. All right. So here's the poll. Let's see if somebody likes one of those. And then a great subtitle. So you gotta like cue the get the subtitle in there. A great subtitle would be like infectious stories of weird fiction, right? Or infectious tales. Because I like the word infectious, or like infectious tales. Infectious tales of fantasy and suspense, or something like that.
Yeah.
I think you're on the trolley.
But that's probably a good one too. Yeah, and you just get a good subtitle that kind of cues into that. Let's see what we got here.
Let's see.
Looks like Corona Chan Spreading the Love. There's people who like that one. So I might.
Yeah, that one's winning right now.
We'll leave it up. I'll share it on like Twitter, and maybe we'll leave it up on the replay, and people can vote. Oh, I just started looking at a replay myself. That was weird. Okay. So paste it in the chat. Okay. I'll put it out on Twitter.
What's that?
A bird machine.
My keyboard clicking. I have a super clicky keyboard that annoys everyone in the house, which is great. Keeps me makes sure.
Me too. When I type on a keyboard, I pretty much slam the keys.
Well, I have a mechanical keyboard. It's made by DOS Keyboard. That's really, I got the clickiest click you can get. It's just, it increases accuracy for me. You just having that clicky click really makes it so you can be sure that you press the key and what key you actually press. Yeah, I probably wouldn't do Yellow Death. I mean, that's probably just like a little too racial, you know?
I agree. Don't do that one.
Yeah, that's probably a little too racist. I mean, already I'm anticipating people calling me racist for like having a Corona Chan on the cover. They're like, that's going to be racist. I'm like, it's a cartoon character, okay? She has bat wings. She wants to spread her love to you. So, yeah, that one's probably a little bit too much. Calling it.
Would you mind throwing my crowdfund in the chat there?
Yeah.
I could. I've got 12 hours left on my my deal, so I would like to get this out to people.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do that.
ASAP. I put it in the private chat there. So you can
I also need I need Yakov's book too that just came out. I'll link that as well.
Yeah, let's see if I can.
So this is my Kickstarter for my Dynamite Thor comic. It's a Golden Age revitalization. I took a public domain character from 1951 and sort of rejiggered him into modern age. Made a super fun story about the character, and so I hope you guys will check it out. If you want the ebook, it's $10 for the comic, which covers all the art costs and all that. And I'll be delivering it very shortly. So if you're on lockdown right now, you will get it soon. Oh, great! Oh, thank you, Bradford. Great shirt for Dynamite Thor. I appreciate it. I was wearing it yesterday on my stream, but it is the superhero costume pretty much in a retro sort of faded look. So we got all the good stuff over there. If you like good superhero action, if you like that like 80s style Marvel where it was just like heroes being heroes, villains being villains, that this is the book for you. So we're bringing it back and we're making comics great again. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty impressed with how you've been doing all these comic projects, John.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean,
I love comics.
I haven't read. Granted, I haven't read a lot of your stuff, but I just see that you're just It's like again, you're releasing them one after the other.
I am putting out monthly comics, and that has been my goal since kind of starting my first crowdfund, because the real companies, the real pulps, I guess, put out monthly books, and so I have been trying to just put out something every single month on the comic front. I, of course, as much as I can on books too, but I want to be a real true competitor and a real true alternative to the industry. And I think you have to do that by having a ton of content.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Content is king, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. And this is actually my advice for anyone who's a writer. And I deal with this a little bit in my book that's coming out. A lot of people make this incorrect duality between, say, quantity and quality. The greats did both quantity and quality.
Oh yeah, JD Cohen has a good one. Hey, JD Cohen has a good title: Corona Chan's Tales of Pulp and Peril.
Yeah, I like that. Infectious stories of fantasy and suspense.
That works too.
Corona Chan doesn't like alcohol. Yeah, so one of the things that I talk about in my book is that people have this duality. Like there's some, you can either choose quantity or quality. The reality is you need to do both. But moreover, your path towards quality, it will be through quantity. Because like I said, the first time you try something, you're not going to be good at it. So if you're looking to improve your skills, you'd be better off writing 3 different books, than trying to rewrite the same book 3 times. So if you are focused on getting your output done early on, yeah, it's not going to be as high quality as it will be later on, but you're going to be able to do high quality work at a greater speed if you persist and continue working, continue putting it out.
It's also a virtuous cycle, because the more mastery you gain, the easier the process will be for you. So just like with anything else, whether it's carpentry or auto repair and anything, the better you get at writing books, the faster you're going to write books. It's going to take fewer revisions.
Yep.
You're going to have more confidence and competence and just be able to hop in and go.
Yep. Absolutely. That's correct. I agree with that. So Jakob Merkin's book is there. I got mine here quick. So this is the creativity book. And I run into, I guess, newer writers who, I don't know what to call this. They get like an obsession with editing, or they have like almost a religious belief in the editing process. And I just view it as a process. You do you edit and try to make your work better before you release it, obviously. But they're like, no, you need to everything needs to be rewritten multiple times. It takes spending 3 times longer editing than writing. I'm like, no, that's a belief that you have to be focused on redoing everything in order to achieve perfection. It's like a perfectionist mentality, and it will actually hold you back from finishing the project that you really want to finish.
Yeah.
So that's what I recommend, is that you just focus on getting your projects complete. And then when you complete one project, try to begin the next one, especially if you're starting out, and you'll actually get a lot better than if you finish a book and then try to edit it and rewrite it and fix it for the next 5 years. I've met people who've been working on the same book for like 5, 6, 7 years. It's like I couldn't. They're not.
I can't imagine.
Yeah, I can't imagine that at this point. At this point, I write it, I revise it once myself, then I go to my editor, and then that's the whole process, really.
Yeah,
that's a big waste of time, because your 10th idea is going to be way better than your first idea in general.
Yeah.
Yep.
So another thing that happens, and I've learned this from screenplays, right? Because me and Matt Wellman wrote screenplays together early on, and so we get notes back about revisions, and we find that at about the 3rd or 4th draft, like where we're doing heavy editing based on, basically editorial direction, you're writing a different movie, and like we didn't have a lot of passion for like those later drafts because they weren't the story that we wanted to tell initially. They were radically different. And then at a certain point, you start adding stuff back in that you took out the first go around. And at that point, you're just like on a fool's errand.
As soon as that happens, it's time to stop.
Yeah.
It's time to ship it. Unfortunately, with screenplays, you can't really do that if you're trying to tell it to someone. It's just how it is.
Yeah. So what's our opinion of beta readers?
Depends.
Yes. I tell you, I actually don't use them.
I don't use them either.
Yeah.
I haven't.
Just
on my list. I'll
Why
usually
not?
give away some copies early, but I don't use them. If you want my opinion on it, it's I just don't get useful feedback, and it takes a long time to get feedback, and I like to do things.
I get you.
Yeah, the reason I haven't used them for my Galky Sendin series so far is partially just because of the time involved, and also just because I haven't had enough readers yet that I could find enough people who are up to date on the series, like 3, 4, 5, 6 books in.
Yeah.
Who will be able to actually read it and give feedback.
Yep.
That's why with my new series I'm working on now, I decided to look for beta readers now because I finished book 1. I'm going to write 5 books before I even crowdfund it. So I have time if I want to get some feedback on the first book at least, and then decide from there if I want to keep doing beta readers for the next.
By the way,
rest of the
Yakov,
series.
I'm liking I've only read chapter 1, but I'm liking what I'm reading so far.
Okay, that's good to hear. I look forward to hearing all your thoughts on the whole thing. It was a lot of fun
Of
to write.
course. I can imagine.
Yeah. JD says he doesn't use them. Bradford says the feedback cycle's too long for anyone outside of Old Pop to make use of them. I also trust myself, and I'm going to sound maybe arrogant to say this, but I have a vision and I pursue it, and I try to make it as good as it possibly can be.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's my vision, and if there's a reader that doesn't like something I did, that's okay.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with it, David. Yeah, I think the beta reader thing spawned out of a like lack of confidence in authors. It's like we were talking about with the authors writing a single book for 5, 6, 7 years or whatever. That stems from a lack of confidence. Both these things stem from kind of a lack of confidence. And am I muted?
No,
No, I can hear you. I can hear you.
Yeah. Okay.
The perfectionist
and so it's at some point you kind of figure like, I've got what I'm doing. I'm not really looking for, I guess, is this professional looking, because I know my books are professional looking at this point. And so you just go. Now I do hire an editor who goes through and like checks, continuity, timelines. I'm very bad with, like, if I said in chapter 3 that something happened 3 days ago, it's chapter 7, and I said it happened 7 days ago, yet it's the same day. That's where I screw up.
That's cute. I literally contradicted myself in the next sentence.
Oh, gosh, it's rough. So I do that a lot, but that's what my editor's for, and that and fixing my grammar, and then I just tell the story I want to tell. So,
well, I'm glad you said that, not just because I'm a freelance editor, but I'm a freelance editor because I agree with the sentiment that, I used to be a big booster for beta readers, mainly because I started out, like many of us, trying to get published by NewPub, and like Bradford kind of said, that's really an NewPub thing, but I'm finding more and more just hiring a good editor will more than compensate for.
I think Brandon Sanderson got us all being like, "Hey, beta readers," and like having a writing group. It's like that was the deal, right?
But I'll also anecdotally, Brandon Sanderson couldn't get beta readers to finish that second Stormlight Archive book. And it's like, and when I got it, I was like, man, I could barely finish it. No wonder, But he had to, go ahead with it. I think it's probably better to hire a professional editor, because then the feedback is focused and it's from someone.
And guess what? We just so happen to have one right here.
Yeah, so
I can vouch for Brian too. I can do this right here. So I've not used Brian, so I have not done that. But however, people have sent me Brian's editorial notes for their works, and I've read them over. And I've kind of, because somebody asked me basically to, is this good? Is this the right way? And I gave my blessing, because I've actually read Brian's notes, and Brian actually has given helpful feedback and helpful, useful items. So Brian does a very good job from what I can tell.
Thank you. I was not aware of that.
Yeah. I'm not even going to tell you who did it either.
I'll find him.
Yeah. So
I didn't say it was a him.
Yeah, that focused and directed feedback from a professional, that to me is more useful than, a beta. Now you get an idea of what the reader thinks, but unless you're like really experienced and you can kind of transmute that into knowing what you did that made them think that, it's not always that easy. So now,
that was a trick that was a clever editorial trick to get you to narrow it down for me, John, because I only have 2 female clients.
Oh, I did. Oh, no. I just I basically doxed somebody.
Yeah, anytime an author takes pains to avoid masculine pronouns, they're trying to do the whole "it's really a girl" thing, and
it could be a they them, could be they them.
But that merits a horsewhipping in public. So.
Rothfuss spent forever doing Name of the Wind, and it shows. It took me forever to read Name of the Wind.
That's me.
Classic.
Yeah, the one I did, my second one was terrible.
I'll say if Michael Moorcock wrote Name of the Wind, it'd be 60 pages. Not 800.
I'd like to
Name
write
of the Wind. Sorry, go ahead.
Like call it Gamma of the Wind, because it's like the ultimate Gamma fantasy.
Oh, it is. Yeah. And he sleeps with a woman, and it's like the best she ever had.
It's a smirk story. Claude is such a smirk boy.
It is. It's a smirk story. You're right. Wow, that's a great way to define it.
Thanks. I kind of slept from Jim, but I did a whole blog post about smirk stories, which, for the audience's benefit, it's whenever you have this so smug, superior postmodern trying to sideswipe you with a demythologization story. It's like Name of the Wind. I'm just going to spoil it because it sucks and you don't need to bother reading, and I'll see you the trouble. Is at the very end. So basically, the book is a checklist of common heroic fantasy tropes, but that Rothfuss subverts and inverts every time. And what's the last item on the list? Hero's got to slay a dragon, right? And there's a scene where he fights this huge fire-breathing reptile. It's destroying a town. But then we get, well, it's not really a dragon. It's just this species of like Komodo dragon relative or something. It's just a big lizard. And here's why. Like, here's the perfectly scientific reason why it can spit fire. I'm like, dude, it's a freaking dragon. It's, apply Clark's law about magic indistinguishable from science, right?
Yeah.
He subverted the story. He subverted it so hard he can't even finish the story now. Like, he subverted itself out of existence.
And he still hasn't written
classic.
the third book, I don't think.
No.
Nope.
No,
Yeah,
that's
that's my little personal quest to write stories that don't subvert anything.
Yeah, good. It's not hard. It's harder to wrap yourself in pretzels trying to subvert things.
And the funny thing is that the guys who are trying to subvert tropes often are not steeped enough in the genre that they're attempting to subvert to even know what they're subverting or that it's already been done a million times before. Someone's like, I'm going to have this cool anti-hero that like doesn't want to be an emperor or a king. It's like, dude, you're just writing Elric. And they're like, I've never read that. It's like, at this point, it's 50 years old, right? You're not subverting a trope. The trope is just a thing that could be used or not. It's not
by now every single piece of advice from literati to, that's passé. You need to subvert that. Not subverting it, superverting it is what's subversive now. Because all the subversion has been going on since 1937. It's stale.
Yeah, my big subversion in one of my little fantasy books, which is a fairy tale, is like, rather than going to slay the dragon, he he talks to the dragon. Dragon's not a bad guy. And so the dragon like helps him out. And it's like, well, that's a huge subversion. It's like, there's the lesson there, which is that he didn't walk into it, like, I got to now kill this dragon. It's like, I got to see what's going on here. But that's one little thing like that is a surprise. If you do that over and over again, it's just, it just becomes a nonsense.
Yeah, it's easy to just take a genre. You don't have to subvert it all the way. You can just make one relatively small change. Like if my series I'm doing now, the idea of isekai idea, it's basic isekai kind of fantasy story, but I just have a very different kind of main character. I mean, there's other stuff also that's different, but like that's really the main difference is that it's just a very different kind of character that we're dealing with as the protagonist there. And it's like, that's really enough. I don't need to completely change the whole framework of the genre or try and subvert anything because it's like the genre itself.
Just out of the first chapter, I saw that, and it's a really interesting perspective.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's good to hear.
Yeah.
The first person is not something that I've done a lot of. So.
Yeah, I mean, you always want to do something original because you want readers to come to the book with something, expecting something new and interesting. So you can't just, you can't just do like D&D playbook kind of stuff. You have to do it a little bit differently, or
of course
readers will get bored. So, anyway,
it needs to be different yet familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
So contribution to the anthology is, what if Solomon Kane was in The Name of the Wind?
It would be 60 pages.
I do love Solomon Kane. Yeah. It'd be 60 pages. Yeah, I was thinking that. Yeah, Robert E. Howard had this great ability to write really in-depth settings in very short stories. Like you really had a feeling that his world was alive, even if the story was like 5,000 words. He was great at it. If I see a female author or female lead, I automatically look for a love triangle subplot. If it's there, it's one step away from being banned. I don't want to read a Harlequin romance in drag.
I just had this discussion with my co-writer for my new trilogy today, and she's a female. I'll say that. And so we're talking about it, and she goes, "Do you want to put in a love triangle?" And I go like, "Well," and she's all, "How much of your percentage of your readership is female?" And I'm like, "Probably 30%." She's like, "Probably not enough to do a love triangle. Then we shouldn't do it." I'm like, "Yeah, good, because it's obnoxious."
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of. I remember they had it going on for like 10 or 12 books in the Wheel of Time. like they set it up in like the first book and just never delivered on it for years. It just became an annoying thing to be present in the story at all after a while.
I know.
It's like you just need to figure out who he bangs and let's move on with this story. And then there was books like 7.
And then he banged them all.
Yeah, and nothing happens. All right, guys. We're starting to run out of time here, so let me make sure that I've got everybody's stuff linked here. Here's John's Kickstarter again. Make sure I have.
Thank you, Backus. This is going to be gone in 12 hours. So if you enjoy superhero comics, this is the spot.
Yeah,
limited one-time offer. Go get it.
Yeah.
And Brian has a book on sale for 99 cents. Make sure you're on my mailing list, dvspress.com/list. I will be giving away a few free copies of the Keys to Prolific Creativity, which I just linked, and that will be going out at some point here as soon as I finish my final proofreading and stuff. And I guess get started on audiobook.
Combat Frame XC, the first book in my Mecha Martial Thriller series, is also 99 cents, and the short story I'm contributing to the Chrono-Chan anthology ties into Comet Frame Exceed, and prior to the Chrono-Chan anthology, it was really hard to get. It was like in an old issue of Sci-Fi Journal, so it would be a great chance to get into that. Also, finally, I see people asking about my editing rates in chat. It depends on the size of the job. Like all professionals, editors charge for their time. So, yeah, hit up my website, brianniemeyer.com, click on the editing services tab, and basically send me the total word count and a sample chapter, and I'll get back to you with a quote.
I'm gonna read you guys the titles of some of these stories. And if I have time tonight, I'm gonna polish up a brand new one that's never been published. But
nice.
So Anacyclosis by Brian Niemeyer, A Song of ICE and Fire by John Delarose. And
that's right. They have to go back.
All the way back.
In the Forest of Wast by Alexander Helene, Exiled in the Desert by John Dacre, Iron and Steel by K.P. Calvados, Someone is Aiming for You by J.D. Cowan, Immortal Thunder by Matt Wellman, that's my brother-in-law, and that's a full novella, and that's urban fantasy. If you guys don't know him, because I haven't had him on the show very much, it did like a whole. I don't even know how many shows I've done with him in the past, but At the Feet of Neptune's Queen by Abraham Strongjohn, Warrior Soul by J. Manfred Weissel, Battle of the Tursan Nebula by Yakov Merkin, An Eye for Eligos by Alexandru Constantine, Adventure Constant, which is a full novel by John Mollison.
Wow.
Star Support by Val Hull. Unpublished. God, this is all new stuff. City of Silver by me, by David V. Stewart.
I read it, love it.
So if you haven't read City of Silver, you can get it for free in this anthology, and it'll be cool. Book 2 will be coming out after I finish this next creativity book. I had to take some time and write this nonfiction book. It was just on my heart. That's really what I wanted to do, and so I'm glad I'm taking the time to do that.
Thanks.
So, thank you, Gabe's 3D videos. I appreciate that you like my content. I really do. All right. So thanks so much, guys. We will see you guys next time. Any final words, my friends?
Thank you. Thanks to everyone for watching.
Be excellent to each other and party on, dudes.
Yeah.
All
right. Stay safe, guys.
It was worth staying up late. I'm not going out anywhere tomorrow anyway. So
okay.
Works out fine.
All right. Okay. We'll see you guys next time.